Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today is a pretty exciting day for me and probably for you guys as well if you are interested in any of the newer PNSO models, because I did just get quite a few in the mail and I am really excited to start taking a look at them here with you guys. I have not even opened them yet. I am just now going to open them with you guys. So the very first one that we will take a look at today is Doyle the Triceratops. Now I know what you're thinking, or maybe thinking if you're a longtime viewer of this channel. I did actually review Doyle once before. It was quite a long time ago, but that was the older version. This is a newer, repainted version. It's very similar, or at least it looks to be very similar to the previous version, but it has an updated and better paint job now. So let's take a quick look here at the box. As you can see, of course, you've got a beautiful shot of Doyle there on the front. PNSO Dinosaurs Museum, Doyle the Triceratops, 1/35th scale scientific arts model here on the side. And some beautiful words here by PNSO stating that this is dedicated to everyone who struggles with the law of the jungle. Please have faith in kindness and tolerance, as they are the world's best weapons. Very nice words by PNSO, and of course you've got a whole bunch of information here on the back, all about the actual product itself. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get this guy out of the box. Now, one thing to note is that this is a very nice, very sturdy and stable box, so your figure should get to you in absolutely perfect condition. And then as you open it up, you've got this, what seems to be a little booklet here. Oh yes, definitely a nice little booklet. We've got some artwork here of Doyle the Triceratops. Some more artwork there of Doyle. And there's actually a lot in here as far as information all about the Triceratops. It actually looks to be a very cool story here that is all about Doyle himself. So overall, an absolutely beautiful looking booklet with incredible pictures of the actual figure itself. And there's a shot with the skeleton. And then we've got a little bit more here at the end, but either way, very cool. I'm obviously not going to read this story here, as that's something that you would have to do if you do purchase this Triceratops. Now the figure itself is buried down here very safely within its packaging. We'll pull Doyle out, and then, wow, we've got all kinds of stuff hiding down here. We've got the base on the very bottom, so let's get that out. So there's the base. So let's get Doyle out of his little wrapping here and get him on the base. So there is the new and improved Doyle the Triceratops, and I'm definitely really quite impressed with it. I think it looks beautiful, and I definitely prefer this paint scheme over the previous one. The paint scheme is actually pretty similar, honestly, to the previous version, but it's definitely a bit darker. We will actually take a look at the older one here with the newer one in a little bit, but for now, let's get a closer look at the new and improved Doyle. So the head sculpt looks very nice, and although I have actually reviewed this sculpt before, as the sculpt has not changed, it's just basically the paint, it's been so long since I actually did review the sculpt that we will take a look at it here again. You can see that there is all sorts of beautiful detailing all over up here on the head, even out here on the front of the snout area. Look how insanely incredible the sculpting of the skin detail and scale work really is. It's super impressive, really nicely done, as PNSO is just absolutely awesome at sculpting their figures. You can even see a little bit of pink inside the nostril to just give it that little bit of extra realism and really kind of put your attention on that area, make you take note of it. I think it looks very nice, and that was a very beautiful addition. You can see that the beak has some beautiful sculpt work in it as well, and the jaw is articulated. So that is also very cool to have a herbivore with an articulated jaw, something you don't get very often from any company, really. Coming up here into the eye area, you can see that eye is beautifully painted and has an absolutely fantastic looking gloss. It's very real looking, kind of definitely jumps out at you because of that beautiful gloss that is included. And the sculpting and detailing all around the eye looks fantastic. You can see very nice, very small osteoderms and stuff all around the eye. Really, honestly, incredible sculpt work all around the eye, even down here on this horn. Look at just how much work has gone into the sculpt of this. It's insanely nice. And the horns themselves also have very nice sculpt work, and the paint applied is really beautiful, very realistic looking paint applied to this. As you can see, so many different tones of coloration all throughout just the head sculpt in general. I like this darker coloration around the eye because it really helps to make the orange eye jump out at you. But even all over throughout the entire head, there are so many different shades and variations of brown included to really give it such a realistic look. So many different tones of skin color. Quite amazing to me, honestly. It's one thing that I think PNSO does so much better than any other company out there as far as the paint goes on their figures. It just looks so real. Looking here at the frill, look at how much work has gone into this. And that paint applied is really beautiful. On top of being very beautiful and very vibrant, you can see that it looks so natural and looks so real. A very nice choice as far as the coloration goes because it really makes the head crest kind of jump out at you. The whole frill area just looks very, very nice and very flashy, but in such a realistic way that you just can't help but absolutely love it. Even the paint here on the horns looks really nice. I love the way it tapers off to that darker brown here at the end, and then almost into a black. And there is just so many little cracks and crevices throughout the horns. It just looks fantastic to me. They honestly do such good work. And then again, like I said, the jaw is articulated. It can actually open really, really wide if you would like it to. And even the skin flap here on the inside of the mouth sports some insanely nice detailing. And you can see on the inside actually that the tongue is sculpted out. It's painted with a beautiful pinkish coloration. But one thing that is cool is you can see the tongue is a darker pink than the rest of the mouth. So again, no laziness whatsoever when it comes to the paint of the figure. And you can see the teeth in there. They are all really, really beautifully painted. Not even an ounce of sloppiness on those teeth. And even up on the upper side, look how real that looks on the inside of the mouth. And you can see as I turn it, it's shining as there is a nice gloss included up there. And the teeth just look so real to me. So very realistic. So overall, the inside of the mouth looks fantastic. Looking here at this opposing side of the head, again, you can get an idea of all the beautiful different tones of coloration throughout the head sculpt. And that beautiful painted eye again, it's absolutely perfect the way it's been applied. A nice paint here on the horns. And again, even looking right here, you can see little splotches of like a burnt umber brown mixing with a lighter brown, and then there's all sorts of other dark brown shades and everything throughout, and then it leads out into this very light khaki type color, and then gradually changes to a brown, and then to a black on the end. So the horns right there alone has so much paint, but honestly it just looks so stinking nice and so real. Then you start to come down the neck, and you can again see the scale work and everything look really, really nice. All the osteoderms are all over the place. And then it's got this very nice brownish coloration, but throughout there is like a burnt umber and almost a black as far as these lines that just go all over the place. And the paint is applied so naturally and so realistically that I think it just looks beyond words beautiful. Even back here on the back of the frill, they did not skimp out on the paint anywhere. And I love that the back here of the frill is a lighter coloration, a lighter brown than you get everywhere else on the animal. I think it looks really, really nice. Some nice skin folds here on the back of the neck. And you can see some very nice armored type of a look. It runs the length of the spine. Beautiful sculpting as far as that goes. And you can almost see some hints of like a dark green throughout the body, along with that brown, many different shades of brown, honestly. And it just looks so nice. It's so naturally applied and looks very, very real. Coming down here into the shoulder, you can see the shoulder blade protruding a little bit there, and some nice skin folds as we come down into the front leg. Beautifully sculpted foot. Very nicely painted nails. I like that it also transitions to a darker color for the actual feet, as opposed to this lighter brown. Some nice skin folds here. You can see the skin pulling a little bit, so very nice attention to detail. As far as PNSO goes, as always, when you come back here, you can see the skin stretching here as the left rear leg is pulling it back. It's taking a nice long step back. Very nice hip bone, very beautifully elaborated from the skin. And again, you can see all kinds of insanely nicely sculpted scale work and osteoderms all over the place. And real nice musculature here in the thigh as well. Huge calf muscles as you run down the leg. And the foot appears to be in a very nice, very natural, realistic looking position with the way it's taking a step. Also very beautifully painted with that darker brown. And you come back up here into the tail. You can again see a little bit of skin foldings and some pulling of the skin there. some stretching of the skin, and then you run out the length of the tail, and that beautiful brown continues the whole way with many different shades. The underbelly here is a much lighter coloration and looks very, very nice. Beautiful scale sculpted there as well, and you can see a little hole here in the foot. That's where you'll apply it to the base, as there is a peg, and you can even see the cloaca there, just for, again, that beautiful extra bit of realism to take this model over the top as far as realistic figures go. And then looking up here on the back, the always very controversial quills on the back of the Triceratops, as some people seem to think that they've had them, some people seem to say no. Nobody really knows for sure, but PNSO has included them, and they honestly look really, really nice. They didn't go over the top, kind of like some of the Collect A Ceratopsians go, where they just have a ton of the quills. They just have a few here and there, and they do make it look really quite striking with the quills here on the back. So if you aren't a fan of the quills, at least they're not huge, but if you are a fan of quills, they're there. So either way, it seems to be a win-win. And then again, looking at this side, you can see that this right front leg is in a very natural position as it's taking a step. It kind of appears to be maybe making a left turn really abruptly, and looks very nice. You can see beautiful musculature in the leg there, and some nice skin folding here in this area. Beautiful scale work, and that paint looks fantastic again. And you can see the skin bunching up here in the stomach as the right rear leg is pushing into it, taking a step forward. Nicely elaborated hip bone. And then beautiful musculature in this leg as well. Feet and nails all look fantastic also here. And then you can see the skin pulling a little bit here, right behind the thigh of the animal. And then we run out that beautiful looking tail once again. So a very nice looking Triceratops on the part of PNSO. Something I think you just need to see in person to really take in all of its beauty. To show you guys some of the paint difference, this one here in the front is actually the older Doyle, the initial release. And you can see that there's kind of a brighter green here throughout, whereas if you do see the green on this one, it's much more darker, much more natural. Overall, this one has a much lighter brown all over, and this one in general has a much darker brown, which I think looks much more realistic, honestly. And then of course with this one, you also have the striping that kind of goes on, but it's so faint compared to what you see on this one. This one's much nicer and much darker, and that was honestly one of the few things that I was a little let down with the initial release of Doyle, was the paint didn't really look as good as it did on the box because of the fact that these stripes weren't really so visible on the actual figure compared to what you see in the box, but that is totally made up here with the newer one. The newer one looks much nicer as far as that striping goes, and the overall skin color I think looks better on the newer one also. The paint on the head, you can see there's a lot more green added to the previous version. The newer one is a much darker, and again a potentially more realistic look. I definitely think the newer one looks a lot better than the older one did, but the older one also looks really, really nice if you can get a hold of it. You can see there's also a yellow around the eye here, around the pupil, but on the newer one it's just orange and a much bigger pupil. Again, I actually like the newer eye better than the older one, and there also appears to be a much nicer gloss on the newer one compared to the older one as far as the eye goes. The frill is a little bit brighter also on the older one, and not quite as bright on the newer one, but they honestly both look fantastic as far as the frill goes. And overall, I think they make a very cool couple. If you have the previous one, I think it's not a bad idea to go ahead and get a hold of the newer one as well, and you can have a mating pair or just a family in general of Triceratops. Then the actual base, you can see, has incredible sculpt work all over it also. Kind of appears to be like a muddy area that the Triceratops is running through, but you can see all sorts of brush and sticks, and some tree branches are involved and included here. You can also see some pebbles and things all over the place, along with some much larger stones. And there is also quite a bit of foliage here that is really, really beautifully painted. Honestly, the whole base is really nicely painted. There are so many different tones of color, even just here in the base. But you can see that the actual foliage here is really nicely painted as well. It's got many beautiful variations of green, making it look very realistic and very alive. And even here on the tree stumps, you can see that they are really nicely painted. Some beautiful dry brushing has gone over them to bring out the detail. Very nicely done. And all the colorations of the actual plants and tree stumps and everything look very real to me. I love that even here on the actual stump here, on the inside is a much lighter color, making that area again also look very realistic. So the base overall is absolutely beautiful, and another great addition to this set. And right there you can see is the peg, and you can see a few footprints, so all you've got to do is match Doyle up with the peg and those footprints, and he stands absolutely perfectly. So once you actually put Doyle on the base, you can actually pick him up and the base stays connected. So that shows you just how sturdy the figure actually is on the base, and I love that about dinosaurs like this. If you can get a base that you can actually pick up the base by the figure and the base stays connected, that means that it should stay on there really sturdy and you'll have no chance of this figure falling over. So again, a very nice aspect about this figure is how nicely the base connects to the figure itself. As far as a size goes, from the, I would say probably the horn, the horn's probably the longest point, to the tail, you're looking at about almost 10 inches on the dot, or about 25.5 centimeters. And for a height from the ground to the top of the frill, you're looking at about 5 inches, or about 12.5 centimeters. And for a width on the base itself, you're looking at about 5 inches, or about 13 centimeters. So very, very nicely sized. For a size comparison, there is our Papo T-Rex, who you can see would have one heck of a problem with this Triceratops, because he is quite large next to the Papo Rex, and he is very close to getting a horn straight in the throat. So he probably shouldn't stay here long, but just long enough to give you guys a pretty good idea here of the size of the Triceratops by PNSO. So as always, PNSO continues to excel when it comes to their prehistoric models, and I am not surprised one bit. This Triceratops is even better than the initial release, in my opinion, and that's something that is really, really impressive to me because of how nice the original Doyle the Triceratops was, and this one being even nicer just absolutely blows me away. The paint on this looks fantastic. It looks very real, very natural. It's been beautifully applied. Does not look like paint even in the slightest bit. It 1000% looks like body color, and that is another thing that I really love about PNSO, is their ability to apply beautiful paint in such a realistic and natural way, and that shines through on this Triceratops without question. The base itself is also just as nice as the Triceratops. When it comes to the paint and sculpt, it looks very real and very nice. So many different colors have been included, and it honestly overall looks fantastic. The sculpting of the Triceratops also is really, really beautiful and looks very nice, very up-to-date and modern with what we think Triceratops look like, even so much so as adding those quills on the back, which are very questionable, but a lot of people seem to think they had them. So PNSO kind of gave you the option of having them, but at the same time having them not be so large, and I think that is very nice, kind of pleasing both sides of that argument. And of course you've also got the articulated jaw, which is something that not too many herbivores have, and I really think that when you open the jaw, it actually looks really quite natural on this figure, and looks really nice. If you look at it right there, that looks beautiful. And I really, really like the fact that the articulated jaw is included, because again, gives you a little bit as far as options of posability goes, and I think that's a very cool addition. So this Triceratops is fantastic, and if you want to order this, I will throw a link in the description to the PNSO Amazon store, where you can purchase Doyle for yourself. I definitely 100% recommend this Triceratops, something that you will definitely not regret purchasing. So go ahead and check the description, find that link to the Amazon PNSO store, and buy yourself some Doyle today. Trust me, you won't regret it, and please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.